So glad to see everybody here today. This is, a stellar crowd. We've got two folks on camera, one on audio, and Jared is live casting with me. Thank you, Reinhardt, for doing that. We appreciate you for getting the word out on several different platforms, which is, our whole goal is to spread the word as widely as possible. These are some of the Guardians of Rescue, and let the person who is the primary guardian of rescue, it reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy, I swear. James Houchins, tell me about the Guardians of Rescue.
So I am the Director of Field Operations with Guardians of Rescue, and then on audio today is KB. She is our criminal cruelty investigator. We are a national nonprofit organization. We service all 50 states. I should say we surround the world. We do hoarding cases, large-scale puppy mills. We're the ones that kind of are that last push for when law enforcement needs help. We assist law enforcement when it comes down to these large hoarding cases, the large puppy mills, when these dogs need help and maybe a small county can't afford or can't assist. We're also known for helping dogs off of chains. We want to get these dogs that are chained out 24/7 to living on a chain. That's no life for a dog. So that's kind of what we do and who we are.
I love it. Michelle Lawson is the director of Kentucky Animal Action, which has been instrumental in not only doing animal rescue, coordinating rescue efforts, but also, Michelle, in helping to push legislation through, which is going to improve our beleaguered status as far as animal welfare in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Thanks for having us tonight, Tara. And you said exactly what I would have said about us. That's what we go for, education and awareness. And we're a big believer in boots on the ground. We like to be involved with the things that we're trying to change. And Guardians of Rescue, I'm so glad to be working with them. They are what you consider a group that gets things done. So many groups say they do what Guardians do, but I tell you what, they were alerted about this situation, and in a couple days they were there and animals were being removed. I mean, they mean business. So I'm very proud of them for what they've accomplished and what they continue to do.
Absolutely amazing. So, James, let's go back to you. You are traveling right now outside of Jefferson County. So talk to us a little bit about what the last few days have been like for you.
Crazy. There's not really a word to put to it. Our team has been on the ground in Adair County. We were there for a little over 14 and a half hours. We're moving 300 plus animals from a high-scale puppy mill. As of today, we are in West Virginia, assisting the state police with another reporting case. We will drive back to Kentucky tonight, and then we'll be en route to another case involving a large-scale hoarding situation tomorrow. So, when these calls come, we don't pick when. We don't get to say, well, I'm too tired or I need a break. It's these animals need help. And if by all means, if they're going to call us and we can go in and get these dogs or cats or horses or whatever the animals may be, if we can get them out, then we're going to go. We have rescue partners that are on standby for this type of thing, and we just make a call and we're able to go and take care of the situation.
How many rescue partners do you have with Guardians of Rescue? I'm
going to let KB chime in on that one, and she can kind of talk about the rescue partners and that's kind of the side of things.
Go for it, Kelly.
Hey, how are you?
We're good. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're so welcome. So we have over 30 rescue partners just under my Kentucky division, because I am not only do the investigations, I am the director of Kentucky's operations department. So I cover the state of Kentucky along with several other states. So we have 30 alone, James and I, but then each state has their own rescue partners. So we can pull rescue partners from everywhere.
That's amazing. So I'm just going to ask the question that everybody wants to know. And I tell you, when Michelle sent me these pictures today, I really got sick to my stomach. You pulled 400 animals out of one hoarding situation. 400 animals, many of which were pregnant, a number of which were deceased, skeletal, sick, in the process of dying. Talk to us about that experience, and is this one of the largest hoarding busts in the state of Kentucky's history?
So I'm not really sure if it's the largest. It is the largest in the state of Kentucky that I have done. You know, I've done so many of these cases that it's just so, I'm just so numb to it. And it literally makes you sick. And it's something that you don't forget. Each case is different. The things that we see, we have nightmares about it. You know, a lot of times we become very emotional after these cases because it's very hard.
Yeah, I can imagine the psychological trauma that we go through for our animals on a normal basis,
right,
is bad enough. But when we're talking about horrific situations like what Trixie was, like what the Sedair County bust was, those are things that you can't unsee. You never can unsee what you witness.
Right.
You know, when we're there on scene and we're going in these, you know, in that specific one, there were barns, there were sheds, there was breeding where she had like a shed set up for specifically breeding dogs. You know, there was a building that we walked in and there laid a dead dog in the middle of the floor. You know, there was crates that had been stacked off in a corner of a barn that was used to transport dogs at one time, but had skeletal remains with a Seresto collar still on it. You know, and I can go into, you know, deeper detail with other things that we had seen on that property, that people would, I mean, it makes you sick.
I'm popping some of the pictures that you sent me up of the conditions that these animals were living in. And just the garbage is just, I can't even begin to understand how people can get a place to the conditions where you would have to show up wearing one of these, a complete head-to-toe hazmat suit. Explain to people who don't understand what a hoarding rescue is, why in the world you would need to wear a hazmat suit to rescue animals. James.
So a lot of times in these situations, the smell not only in the home, but in these buildings where, you know, specifically, you know, keeping it relevant to Adair County, you know, in these barns, which you think, you know, that would have an open top, that the smell wouldn't be bad, but there were dead animals. So you had the smell of dead animals. You had feces several inches, you know, 6, 7, 8 inches deep. You had decaying dogs. You had decaying puppies. You know, the smell of the feces, the urine, the rats, you know, all that combined on top of, you know, disease that's just scattered about on the ground. You know, you have, some of these places have needles, you know, whether it be from the dog, whether it be from the person. We have, you know, we've been there, done that. Inside of these homes, even with our protective gear, and, you know, we do shoe covers, we do, you know, the full zip up hazmat, we do a respirator, gloves, sometimes we double layer gloves. Even with all of that on, you know, we still find ourselves afterwards with respiratory issues. We find ourselves sick, and these people are living in that. These animals are living in that. And you know, if it's hard for us to breathe just a couple minutes, just 30 minutes of that, these animals are living in that 24/7s.
Yeah, here's a good example of the kind of literal crap that an animal was living in. Thick layer of feces and food and garbage, all crammed into a crate. And this one little white fluff ball that you're holding is just breaking my heart. I mean, you can't even almost tell it's a dog underneath what's, you know, a matted coat that probably had to be shaved down to the skin just to be able to identify the gender of the dog.
I've been on the phone a lot with Kelly and James the past few days. They've had to hear from me a lot because I'm trying to get information and help get the word out about what they're doing, because their organization needs support as well. And we also need to raise awareness in Kentucky about what's going on here. And they're human, and this is hard on them. And I worry, this is hard work. The ammonia levels, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, the ammonia levels inside a lot of these hoarding or puppy mill situations is considered not survivable. And that's what they're going in. And they have hazmat suits on. And it's not just about having the hazmat suits and trying to breathe through these gigantic respirators. And a lot of times you can still sense and smell the ammonia even with these respirators on, and it can be uncomfortable in many ways to your skin. I've seen these guys do things in 90-degree weather in a closed-in house with no air conditioning. James, I saw you in that shed behind the house at the hoarding situation last year in the hazmat suit. It was 90 degrees. There was no AC. I mean, this is very, very difficult work for these guys, and they do it wonderfully and save animals. I saw a video of James trying to get into a kennel that was rusted shut. How long? Can you guys talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the kennels that were in the barn, they were so, they weren't really that old, is the sad thing, but the conditions, because of all the urine and the feces and the level of feces, the doors were completely rusted together and they were stuck. The feces were so high that you couldn't pull the door out and you couldn't push it in, and it was stuck. So James had to literally tear through the top of a kennel and jump inside. And then one of our other volunteers, we were passing dogs from inside of the kennel and lifting them over just to get them out of the kennels. And that's hard work. But we were able to successfully get all of those kennels, the tops off, and James was able to go over the top of them and crawl into that and get those out.
And if the doors wouldn't come open for you guys, a whole team of you all, how long had it been since those animals had been out of that kennel? And how long had it been since a human had been into that kennel? And we're not talking about little, short crate kennels. We're talking about, I would say that was 6 or 8 feet tall that you had to climb over. Yeah.
So I'm going to say that those dogs probably never came out of those kennels at all. And if they were fed, it was probably just dumped over the top. And it's awful to think that a dog would be raised from a puppy until it was older. And of course, every one had a male and a female in it for breeding purposes. We found puppies scattered out, in one crate or one kennel area. There were just bones where puppies were born, and the lady probably never even knew that they were there. And the other dog probably ate the puppies,
God, this is breaking my heart. And somebody's commented that the person running this puppy mill is obviously mentally ill. Let's just talk about that because, we discuss a lot with Joy Estes, who couldn't join us tonight, that there is a definite connection between animal abuse and human abuse, domestic violence, senior abuse, child abuse. We know that this is a fact. And you also know that hoarding obviously has the components of mental illness because nobody can get to a place like that, whether they're living with or without animals. You can't get to a place like that if you are, in a functional state. To live in garbage, to live in feces, to live with rodents, to live with bed bugs and lice and all the other things that come along with dirt and garbage, and to allow helpless animals not to be able to be fed or cared or touched or bathed or combed or walked or vetted or anything. You have to have that component of some sort of mental illness. Now, what charges are able to be pressed is my question against the people who were running this hoarder puppy mill. I mean, what do we have in Kentucky? Because I just noticed we bumped up to 44th, which is a massive climb from 54th last 2 years ago. when we outlawed sex with animals, we went up to 47th, and now we actually made it to 44th, which is great. But what do we have that we can do, Michelle or James or Kelly, whomever wants to take this, to get the people who are doing these kind of things to not be able to do them again?
Well, cruelty second is the first thing that comes to mind for me, but I'm going to let Kelly and James speak on that a little bit more about what charges applied to the specific case here. One thing I will say is, Kentucky Animal Action is trying to get some legislation passed to help groups like Guardians of Rescue be able to come in and do things like this. Luckily, they were able to jump in and take this, no question. But a lot of times cases like this aren't pursued by counties or rescue groups because of the cost that's incurred to take on a case like this. I mean, this is no small thing. I mean, for instance, Fayette County seized 135 cats recently in the past few years. It took 2 years to go through the case, and the owner wouldn't surrender them. It cost Fayette County $80,000 to house those cats during the case. So that's 135 cats. So this case was much larger than that. So in most cases, no one would ever pursue it because of the cost. Luckily, Guardians came in, but we're trying to get cost of care passed where the owner would have to pay for the cost of care for the animals if they're not immediately forfeited, or if they're not willing to or not able to pay for cost of care during the case, they can forfeit them at that time. So would help groups like Guardians a little bit better. But let me let James and Kelly speak about charges for cases like this one.
James, you have a unique perspective because you're a former animal control officer, so you have a lot of knowledge about these kinds of things. What can we do to prevent this from happening again? What kind of charges can we file against these folks?
Well, I'm going to let Kelly talk about the charges against this specific case, and then I'll chime in just kind of a general overview from an animal control standpoint.
Got it.
Okay, so the specific individual is being charged with all animals, and she is being charged with cruelty to animals in the second degree. She is also being charged for the deceased dogs also. And I think they were going to get her with improper disposal of animals, of the carcass. So that being said, this was a very successful case because, like Michelle was saying, a lot of times when these animals have to be held as evidence, it costs a lot of money for these rescues. But James and I were able to talk to her, and she did surrender all animals to us.
Now what do you do with them? That's the big question. What in the world do you do with how many? 400?
So the count is 141 living.
Oh, gosh.
So it's 141 living and 9 cats. The rest are deceased. So that 141 dogs and the 9 cats all went into rescue. And then we will obviously do an agency transfer for them. Then the rescues, obviously, will raise money for vetting, for the grooming, and for all cost. There was one dog that we had to rush to the emergency vet off scene because it had such a horrible injury. There was a hole in the back of its neck where the bone in its neck and its spine was actually showing, and the dog was bleeding out. So it had to be rushed to the emergency vet. And we're very thankful that we got it just in time. The dog did have to have emergency surgery, and we're pretty sure that she's going to recover well from this. But I'll let James talk about the animal control side of things and the charges.
So, I mean, that's where, we have to educate not only our animal control in our counties, but when it comes to law enforcement, they have to know their grounds and what can be done. And they need to know that there's groups out there like Guardians of Rescue that, one phone call and we can come assist them with whatever they need. Kentucky is a very poor state when it comes to holding animal abusers accountable.
Yeah.
When all this whole process started, we were really concerned because with this particular case, in order to move forward with the warrant, the judge that had to sign off on that warrant had previously dismissed a case of animal cruelty. That was very obvious, that cruelty was there. So, we have to educate, not only our animal control people, but sheriff department, state police, judge executives, the list goes on and on of people who need to be educated of the proper role of an animal control officer, what they can do, the laws that can be enforced. And when they bring an animal abuse case, before their county attorney or before the police or, they're calling to report something, our authorities have to take action. They have to, hold these people accountable. We're actually dealing with a case right now in northern Kentucky where this lady has had numerous, it's like a yearly thing. Every year, a group comes in and removes hundreds of dogs from her. And the next year, it's right back the same thing. And it's because, she's not being held accountable. And it goes right back to the whole mental condition of hoarding.
Yep.
And I hate being the bad guy, but if they're not going to be held accountable, a year down the road, you're going to be right back where you were.
Yep.
Right. So you have to basically be court ordered into treatment in order when you have the worst. And I know this because I worked in mental health for a number of years and still do. But you have to be ordered into treatment if you're going to have any hope of being able to recover from the kind of torture it is when you have these tendencies to hoard. I mean, it is most assuredly a mental illness. But as you said, whether you're alcoholic, whether you're a substance use disorder victim, whether you have, intermittent explosive disorder, whatever you have, it does not excuse law breaking, and it does not excuse the abuse of animals and other humans. And when you look at this puppy, it looks like maybe a little Rottweiler puppy that you're holding in your arms, who just looks so sad. And you look at babies like that, and I'm just doing the numbers. You said out of 400, 149 survived. That means 251 animals were dead on the property. Oh my God. And you said there were a lot of pregnant ones.
Yes.
Just about every female on the property came off pregnant.
The dead or alive ones, or both?
What was that?
Dead or alive?
Both.
Oh God.
I will tell you, because it's out there. We were finding puppies in a burn pile
Oh my
that had been
God.
scorched and thrown over a hill. It all goes into this whatever the long word is, but the mental capability of these people. I don't know if it's that they can't comprehend emotion or what, but to do that for something that is so small and innocent. To do that. There were dogs that, I'll take it back. Every dog, if they had water in the kennels, it was green, it was slimy, and had rats floating in it. Well, this lady admitted to us to poisoning the rats.
It's like you lost video.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're still here. There you are. Okay.
Oh, all right.
You're back.
The buckets, if they had water, it was green. And she admitted to putting rat poison out for these rats. So we had dead rats in their water that had been poisoned.
That would translate to them.
Mm-hmm. We had dead rats in kennels that dogs had attempted to eat. And, honestly, some of them, that's probably what the cause of death was, because they weren't being fed. They're locked in a kennel. That's their only source of food. This lady specifically said to us, do you think the dogs are dehydrated? Because every dog that was on the property was severely dehydrated. Severely.
Yeah.
She came over to us and said, well, do you think these dogs are dehydrated because I put rat poison out? And we said, okay, well, if you know it's going to hurt the dogs, why did you put it out? And she just kind of smirked and walked away. To me, that's the hard moments, because, these people, I'm like, what the heck are you doing? But, on top of no water, these buildings had no circulating air. The barns were shut. The kennel where the dead dog was just laying in the middle of all these other dogs in kennels. There was no air moving through there. In all these buildings, I would say it was easily 80 plus. And here these dogs are, several, some of them had up to 10 dogs per kennel. And there's no food, there's no water. the house, there were several houses that had skulls in it and things. Obviously a dog's not going to go in there and lay. So their only option is to lay in feces.
There are very few people who can do what you and Kelly are doing, James, and I just salute you. I can't, Michelle and I have both been with you and separate from you in various situations, but something like this is just absolutely overwhelming. And, the only thing that we can do at this point is thank you, and we can also ask you how we can contribute to the care of these animals and to the support of Guardians of Rescue. That's what we really need to know.
So Guardians of Rescue, we do have you can go on our Facebook page, and the specific cases that we do for Kentucky, we have a link there, which goes to our PayPal, and all those funds go for the animals. And the link is posted. I believe it's posted on this specific case that we're discussing now. A lot of times James and I, we ask for different things. So sometimes people will do like a fundraiser, or we'll get supplies, because a lot of times it takes a lot of supplies to do these cases.
Absolutely.
And here recently, we just this week alone, we've done 3, and tomorrow will be our 4th. So we run low on supplies. So those things are always helpful for these cases.
And some of the most important things are oxygen and face masks and gloves and hazmat suits, based upon what we have just seen.
Yeah, and we do have an Amazon wish list also with the items that we do use for these cases, and we have a link for that as well.
That's fantastic. Michelle, I think you tried to send me an attachment, but I can't see it if you send it to my text. If you want to send it to my messenger, then I can probably see it.
I'll send it right now. So you know how I feel about beagles. James knows how I feel about beagles.
Yeah.
There's a picture of a ton of beagles in one kennel together that just breaks your heart. And then James sent me a picture of a single beagle, and we both agree it's one of the hardest pictures to see, even though it may not be the most critical. Just the eyes are just break your heart. So I just wanted to share that picture with you too.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, and I just am showing these pictures as we're going. I'm showing the pictures of the beagles. I'm showing the picture of the little terrier that James is carrying out of the kennel, bent over with his respirator around his face. And I can only imagine the decompression time when you leave one of these rescues, James and Kelly. And I'm just hoping that you're able to space them out enough to give yourselves at least a good night's sleep in between.
We try. But like I said, when that call comes, and that there's animals in need, you can't really say no. This specific situation, we worked till 4 a.m. We had another active investigation with our other property, and we didn't get home till about, I don't know, it was yesterday even, probably 7, 8 o'clock, and then West Virginia State Police called us. They had a situation that they needed us here by 10:30 this morning. It's a little over 6 hours to where we had to go, so we had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to leave. We got that drive ahead of us today, and then we're driving back tomorrow. So, I mean, we'll get sleep eventually.
So, what, James? They told you Kentucky earlier this week, West Virginia today, Kentucky again tomorrow. What they didn't tell you was that before the case in their Kentucky this week, they were in West Virginia the day before that.
We are always somewhere, and it just never stops. And we don't ever stop because there are so many animals that need us. And like James said, it doesn't matter what day, what time. In Kentucky this past Christmas Eve, James and I were on a property out in Yosemite, and we were pulling dogs off of a property, several labs, several of them were pregnant. We saved 7 puppies, and that was during a really bad winter, Christmas Eve, it was really cold. And then during the ice storm, we were in Kentucky pulling dogs off of a property out in Prestonsburg. during the ice storm, we actually had a tree fall in front of us, and James and my husband David had to remove it off the road just so we could continue on.
You know, I just have to say that for any of you who have not yet experienced finding a dead dog, it's one of the most horrific things that you can ever go through. And for those of you who have not encountered a group of dogs that have, you know, been abused, multiply that by however many dogs there are. But the part that's still that I'm grappling with right now is that this person had 400 animals that were alive and, you know, on the property, and just due to strictly abuse, neglect, mental illness, whatever it was that caused her not to be able to make, you know, good decisions, 251 animals died and 149 survived. And you said they were all extremely ill, and many had to go directly to the vet, and they're not going to be able to just go to a rescue. They're going to have to go and get vetted, which is going to be a fortune. So once again, I want to encourage folks to, you know, please, for the love of God, Michelle, put in the comments, if you will, what the hookups are for Guardians of Rescue, and let's get some donations rolling in.
Absolutely.
Riot Heart is broadcasting to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook. And I will share these to at least 4 different Facebook pages and several groups. Let's see if we can get you guys, you know, at least a little bit of support coming in right away, because I can only imagine what the vet bills are going to be for the remaining 149 animals.
I'll get that link out there. And, you know, Kentucky being at the bottom for animal welfare and protection, so many people who care about animals have spent, you know, decades of their lives feeling helpless with situations like this. They may have a neighbor that has a situation like this, and they may have called 20 times and nothing's ever happened. Or, you know, so people just kind of get to where they're like, I'm not going to call anymore. It just causes problems with me and the neighbor, and nothing ever gets done. That's not the case anymore. Times are changing. Kentucky's going up in animal welfare and protection, and there is a way to remedy these situations. Groups like Guardians of Rescue, you know, they didn't hesitate. They found out about this, they didn't hesitate, and now those animals are off that property and they're safe. Unfortunately, there was a bunch that didn't survive, because I'm sure there's been times when neighbors said, you know, I really would like to do something, but nothing's going to happen. Well, this time it did happen, and it's continuing to happen across the state and the rest of the country, and it's only going to get better from here. And thanks to groups like these guys for really being the boots on the ground and the true
Absolutely.
Heroes.
Absolutely.
Well, and we want to encourage people, you know, if you guys, you know, it don't matter if you're in Kentucky, you know, I know it's being broadcast to several different platforms. You know, if you guys know of a situation of, you know, dogs chained out, hoarding cases, puppy mills, you know, feel free to contact, you know, our Facebook page has a toll-free number. You know, just call, you know, it obviously, you know, it'll tell you, you know, leave your name, your number, and describe the situation. You know, let us know what's going on, because we don't know this kind of stuff unless you guys are reporting it.
That's exactly right.
Once those reports come in, you know, we're able to contact the sheriff department. We're able to get the ball rolling and see what's going on. We're able to send our investigative team down to, you know, see exactly, you know, are they selling? You know, we do a whole investigation, but it all starts by the one phone call or email. And you may think, well, that's just a phone call, but that's where it starts. And if you guys aren't reporting it, then, you know, you guys take the step of reporting it. And that's, I mean, that is a giant leap in getting these animals safe.
And not only that,
Yep.
if you go to our webpage, it's www.guardiansofrescue.org. There is an investigations tab, and when you pull that down, it'll say submit a tip. You can report a cruelty, or, you know, whatever you have, and they will send that directly to me. And I can guarantee you that if that comes on my desk, it will be handled.
Very good. And that's what we need to know. We need to know that, you know, somebody's paying attention, because unfortunately, you know, animal controls in every county of Kentucky are overwhelmed. I mean, I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying that, you know, it's kitten season. It's puppy season too, but I mean, it's literally gotten to the point with COVID and with the wonderful concept of having COVID quarantine buddies Unfortunately, people are now discovering that as they go back to work and their lives return to normal, they don't have time for those quarantine buddies anymore. So because they were gotten out of necessity, they're being given up out of, lack of commitment, unfortunately. So we're seeing an inpouring to shelters of surrendered dogs. We're seeing a lot of dumping of dogs, which is heartbreaking. We're finding more strays, more loose dogs. All of us chase loose dogs all over the city every single day. And I've never, ever seen, there are no strays. This is not, what the wild, wild west. There are no stray dogs. There are loose dogs. There are dogs that have gotten away from their homes and they've either, stayed away for so long that they've become semi-feral, or they just, can't be caught, or they're repeat escape artists. And I just love those owners who say, oh, he's an escape artist. Really? Secure your goddamn fence. How about that? Sorry, but, it blows my mind.
It was heartbreaking today. We were going out, following the treatment to the case today. And he brought us, rural West Virginia that we're driving through. And he stops at a stop sign and he gets out of his vehicle. And we're thinking, we're not here. What's going on? And he walks back to our car and he points to the right. And there's a dog that someone watched it, get dropped off. And it's lived in this vacant lot in rural West Virginia. There's no houses around for over 2 years. We're going to be going and we're going to be trapping him and getting him out of there where he can get vet care. He's super thin. But, people that think it's all right to just, take it, to me, it's like taking your personal kid. You give birth to him, you take him, and you just put him out in the road. You just don't do that.
No,
I don't know what other way to describe it. You just don't do it.
Well, and the other thing is when people say, oh, I thought he was just taking a walk. Dogs aren't supposed to just take walks. Domestic pets are not supposed to go out on their own and just stroll around the neighborhood. It's not 1955. There's traffic, there are buses, there are trucks. There are dog nappers. There are people driving 150 miles an hour who don't care what's in front of them. There are no, again, I'm quoting Rita O'Hearn Smith, this is not the wild, wild west. There are no stray dogs. There are loose dogs, and there are dogs that have literally been gone from their homes so long that they've become semi-feral. So, please take action. If you haven't had the opportunity to do something good, the next time you see a loose dog, take a few minutes to at least document it. If it will come to you, do that. If not, get in touch with one of the Lost and Found pages and make the report so that one of us can go out and try to catch it. And support your local incredible rescues like Kentucky's Guardians of Rescue. My God, these people are doing an amazing job. James and Kelly, we appreciate you. Michelle, of course, we appreciate you for all the work that you do for animal protection and for, animal welfare in Kentucky, because it's something that is just not appreciated. And you have a lot of other folks who work with you as well, and some of them couldn't be here with us today, which was unfortunate. But I'm glad that you could.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having us. I would like to, if anyone takes anything away from this, at least from my being on, I would like to say there is hope, and please reach out. There could be no truer sense than be their voice. There is hope, and if you see something, say something.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big keys. And James and Kelly, tell me when you guys think you're going to be coming home.
We're actually on the way today.
Are you?
We'll get a couple hours back tonight, and then turn around and do it all over again tomorrow.
Now, how many animals do you currently have with you?
On this particular case that we did today, they actually went to a different rescue. We just assisted West Virginia State Police in evidence collection. And, Kelly, she's working with the Department of Evidence for charges against the current lady that we did the case with today. So today was just more of a evidence picture, assisting West Virginia State Police in regards to charging this woman and holding her accountable for the way that these animals were living.
Tara, part of our mission is education and awareness, and Joy's big on that, and we need a lot of training in the state. A lot of times people may not mean to do some of the things they do, they just don't know better, or they don't know how, or that kind of thing. And in the future, hopefully we can partner with Guardians and see if we can't get some training out there. There needs to be training for animal control, law enforcement, and even just regular civilians, things to look for and notice, red flags, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think whoops, sorry about that, guys. I think that's an absolutely excellent point. And I hope to God that this is the last of your phone calls this week, James. I'm really sorry. Wyatt just came up and bumped my phone, so it fell off the tripod for a second, but we've recovered now. I hope that things will give you guys the opportunity to recuperate, to recover just a little bit before your next call. And I know it's kind of like the bat signal. When the bat signal goes up, you guys grab your hazmat gear and you run, just like all of us do. When you love an animal, when you love any animal, you love all animals. And, we will drop whatever we're doing. We'll get up from a business meeting. We'll get out of a hair chair. We'll go, we'll leave a bowling alley. Whatever's happening, we go. And that's one of the most important things that people need to know about what we do is that, all of our lives, especially your two lives right now, I mean, you dedicate it completely. God, Wyatt, back up, buddy.
That's the crazy thing. We were, the professional bull riding is in Louisville this weekend.
Oh, great.
We actually bought tickets to go. However, the call came in, we're not going to make it, but you know what? In my opinion, in my book, if I can go save, these dogs that we're going to pull off this property and save, I mean, that's what it's about. We don't, pleasure is one thing, but like I said, no matter when the call comes in, our hearts are for the animals. Our goal is to get them safe, and we'll do whatever that takes.
James, tell me why it is that I have absolutely no problem imagining you riding a bull.
I don't know, but if you saw
I've seen you rescue horses. Sorry, Kelly?
I said, I don't know, but if you see how he jumped across that fence to save that dog.
I guess I can only imagine. I tell you what, I've seen him in action, and I have the greatest respect for both of you. And Michelle, thank you so much again for everything that you guys do. Riot Heart, want to thank you for co-streaming with me and for sharing this amazing information on your platforms. And I think you're going to be hearing more from Riot Heart in recent times here, because he's getting ready to make a plunge into the nonprofit world himself, but it's a different type of nonprofit work, and he actually wants to support animal rescues. And I think we might have a good one to start with right here. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And I've got to feed my boy, because that's obviously why he keeps nudging me and knocking my phone off of the table here. But thank you guys. Drive carefully, be safe. We'll be in touch. And when you do get back to town, we'll come out and live stream with you. When you have a rescue that's a little bit closer to this, I'd like to accompany you and actually live stream the rescue, because it's nothing until you actually see it up close and personal. It doesn't have the same impact.
I agree.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Have a wonderful evening, a good weekend. Drive carefully, and we will see you when you get home. Thank you guys again so much for all you do. Guardians of Rescue and Kentucky Animal Action, our live stream for today on Take It From Tara and Riotcast.
Thanks, Tara.
That was great, you guys.
Thanks, Tara.